Hi, welcome to WHU TV live on Twitch. This is the first ever broadcast for this account. My name is John, your host, and if you aren't already aware of the channel, then by all means, please do jump over to YouTube and subscribe to the channel WHU TV. This account is purely going to be for fan reaction to majority of games for West Ham United, possibly for the England games coming up as well, for that matter. But this is a bit of an untapped resource as far as I can see. So the very first broadcast we were going to be doing is talking about the West Ham 2020 to 2021 season, with a couple of people that are going to be they would normally be making their debut on the YouTube channel, but obviously will be making their debut alongside us tonight. In no particular order is young Jake from West Ham Official. Jake, Unofficial even. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks for having me on.
Good. Thank you very much for joining. Gentleman coordination, of course. Holly Worthington.
How's it going?
To see you. I'm good.
Nice to see you. Looking forward to chatting about this season.
Should be very fun. And last but by no means least, well, maybe a little bit least, is Bill from Garage Football. How are you, mate? You all right?
Yeah, fine, thanks, mate. Thanks for having us on.
No, thank you very much for all joining on this potentially historic broadcast for the channel. I've no idea how this is going to work on Twitch, because as we all know, it's predominantly a gaming platform. So, but they are starting to expand out a little bit on a few things, isn't it? There's a in real life section, so hopefully we'll be able to get something cracking on this. Right, so let's start off. As I say, we're talking about the 2021 season for West Ham United. One of, if not probably the best season in pretty much, certainly for us, for living memory. But let's track back a few months, go back to the start of right to the start of the season with the summer transfer window. We bought in Souček on a permanent deal. We bought in Coufal for the most ridiculously cheap price I've ever, or any of us have seen, for such a talented footballer. We bought in Benrahma on loan with a £4 million loan fee. Dawson from West Brom on a £1 million loan fee, ending up spending just under £25 million. Holly, first and foremost, what did you think about at the time? What did you think about these players when they came in?
So at the time, there were obviously there was outrage when we signed Dawson. There were a lot of players that I'd not heard of, that they weren't the positions that I was hoping for. So I can't lie, I was initially pretty disappointed with the transfer window and very concerned about, I think, what the season ahead brought. I was really excited about Benrahma. He was one of the ones that sort of, as we started looking at all the different YouTube clips, as everyone does, as soon as you start hearing some rumours, he was one that I was excited about. So I was happy about him. But the others, I didn't really know enough about them. And yeah, I had hoped for more. But I was proven wrong in the long term.
We'll definitely come on to that. Jake, same question to you, mate.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't know at the time. Coufal, I mean, that was just a kind of a stab in the dark. I thought, we automatically go £5 million. He's just going to be a backup and come in every now and then. But obviously, what a revelation he's been. Souček on a permanent deal. He's excelled this season. Benrahma, as Holly, I was really to see him. Not quite as many games as I would have liked him to play this season. I would have rather he had a few more games, but yeah, it was all right. Obviously, we had outrage, and I'm sure we'll come on to it about Dean Garner in just a second. But yeah, it was okay. I mean, we were all thinking that we were going to try and stay up. If we could get full 14th upwards, I thought we would have thought that was a really good season, and doing all right from the start of the season. But obviously we were all proved very wrong, and in the long run all of these signings were fantastic. Craig Dawson, I love the man now.
We'll come on to that at the end of the season, man. We're talking about right at the start here, fella. But before you give us your answer, which I'm sure is going to be the same as the other two, we have actually somebody watching. Thank you very much. I'm sure it's the second follower of the account, unless Jake's logged in without telling me. And of course, Bill, your answer to that same question, mate.
Well, pretty underwhelmed, mate. Pretty much what Holly and Jake have said. Obviously getting Souček permanently was great, because he had a really good end on loan from the following season, the previous season rather. And Benrahma, I think most of us were pretty excited because of the form he showed at Brentford. But equally, did we really need him because we had sold Dean Garner and we thought, well, he played well in the Championship for West Brom. It's like, do we need another winger from that division? But I was excited when we got him in anyway. And I think, Soufal, I think, like most people didn't know a lot about him, but looking into him, he's established, Czech international. We played for Slavia Prague a lot in the European competition. So, and right back, we badly needed one because I don't think many of us were really convinced of having Fredericks for the whole season. So I think we're all pretty glad we got someone in. I don't think we expected him to be as good as he has been, but I was pleased we got some cover there anyway. But I was more frustrated that, first of all, we sold Dean Garner, as I mentioned, the fact we didn't buy another forward and we didn't strengthen in central midfield, which we'll touch on, which cost us in certain games later on in the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's not really much more I can say, Bill, because you were about to say the stuff that the other two haven't that I was going to say. Very, very happy that Souček came in. We made that deal. We kind of knew it was going to happen anyway. And, yep, Soufal, nobody knew about him whatsoever. The usual reactionary accounts were coming out saying, "Who the hell's this git? We've never seen him. We don't know. Why are we going to it? Let's not forget the intro video. Everybody asked for it. Everyone was tweeting it saying checkmates, and then 2 days later the intro video comes up with them playing chess together. That was really. I'll give West Ham props for that. I enjoyed that. That was good. Ben Rama, as Holly, as you hinted at, they had a big reputation preceding him coming in. But for him and Dawson, and in actual fact, all three of the signings we didn't really know about. I thought to myself, right, let's just give them time. Let's just see how they get on. Don't automatically think they're going to be shit because, like, for example, with Dawson's been relegated with his last two clubs, which obviously a load of people were bringing up on. But at the same point, just give him time, see how he gets on. And as you guys have pitched, as you mentioned as well, we sold Dean Garner. Hugh Gill left, Yeti left, Josh Cullen left, Roberto left. Thank fuck for that. Vande Silva went out on loan. Felipe Anderson went out on loan. We got rid of Sanchez. Wilshire technically was in the summer, but it was a little bit further down the line after that. And then obviously we released Sabletta. So as I said, we bought in almost £25 million worth of player, and we sold £20.8 million. Now, Jake, on your thinking on that, what was your reaction once the transfer window had shut and we'd got rid of like the players we've already mentioned?
Yeah, well, I think it was almost getting rid of the dead weight and David Moyes coming over. Now I don't want any of this rubbish. I don't want Roberto or Jetty. I don't want any of these players. Just get them out. We'd be better off without them in there. Which I admire, and I'm sure that's along the lines of the conversations that he had with David Sullivan, basically saying, Roberto, there's no way he's getting in my starting lineup. Get him gone. But perhaps, I mean, we could have done with that bit of squad depth nearer on in the season, but none of those players were fantastic when they were at West Ham. Not really. Especially Roberto and Carlos Sanchez. I mean, they were awful. But I just realised I know they were awful. But yeah, I mean, I think I was quite happy to get some of that dead weight out of there, but we just didn't sign the amount of players that I think we needed to replace those almost squad depth players, or get some new faces in.
Okay, Bill, your thoughts on the players we sold or released as well?
Yeah, I pretty much echo what Jake said. I think there was some where I think they could have stayed possibly another season and then sold them. Like obviously we mentioned Dean Garner and probably Josh Cullen as well. Obviously sold for a cheap fee to Anderlecht. So I felt there were some that could have stayed and been on the bench. The amount of times we had two goalkeepers on the bench this season. Like, do you know what I mean? So I thought we could have kept some of them. But yeah, pretty much, yeah, we had a load of deadwood and we needed to free up some wages. And like, Sanchez, as mentioned, and Jack Wilshere, it was a waste of paying him all that money to hang around in washing machines. Do you know what I mean? So So I think we went a little bit too far on how many was sent on loan or sold, but I agree with Jake. We should have brought in more players, but in terms of who left and who was out on loan in the end, we did miss them. But I thought it possibly could have caught up with us, but luckily it didn't.
Absolutely. And Holly?
Yeah, I think similar to what the guys were saying, obviously we did get rid of, like Jake was saying, some deadwood. With Cullen and Grady, obviously many were really disappointed about Grady leaving. I think it was probably more the message. Looking back, he wasn't necessarily the player that everyone thought we needed, or that what would have taken us to sort of new heights or anything like that. But I think it was more the lack of investment in comparison to what we sold the players for. What was it? Did you say 4 million? Actually putting it into the squad at a time where it looked like we were relatively sort of thin on players. I think that was probably the most disappointing part of the transfer window. Looking back, I don't think any of those players would have made a massive difference this season, and we probably haven't missed them at all. But at the time, you just didn't know, and it did feel like a disappointing transfer window in terms of bringing in too much talent compared to what we'd got, I suppose, in return for those.
Absolutely, Holly, and agree with all three of you completely. My instinct reaction to it was, as those that follow the channel would have known, I was furious, absolutely spitting feathers when we sold Dean Garner and bought Ben Rama in. It was, and I still maintain it's good business sense. I said at the time it makes good business sense. He was a junior, we could make some money off him, understandable. But selling a kid that had the prospect and 95% of all the ability that Ben Rama's reputation had made no sense to me whatsoever. Why sell a youth player and bring in a player that's going to basically have the same level of talent and ability that this kid could potentially show? You know, regardless of how well Dean Garner did with West Brom in their push for promotion from the Championship, Dean Garner is a player I rated a lot from when he made his debut under Pellegrini. Absolutely loved the kid, and I was spitting feathers. I was so angry. I literally said, and this, funny enough, this has happened, but I said at the time, unless there's a miracle at the end of this season, I'm not renewing my season ticket. That's how angry I was. You can go back and watch the transfer roundup video that I did about it at the time. That's what I said. Unless there's a miracle, I'm not renewing my season ticket. I've had enough of West Ham. They're absolutely doing my head in, and it happened. So, but yeah, we spent as for the mathematics out there, we spent £4.1 million in the summer transfer window, net spend. Yeah, net spend, and it's abysmal for a team that had one surviving striker, an actual striker, not a makeshift striker as Antonio has been for us for the last few seasons. It makes absolutely no sense to spend net spend of that small amount of money, but we'll come on to that in a little while as well. Okay, so let's round up the first month. In September, we took 3 from the possible 9 points. We lost at home to Newcastle. We beat Charlton in the League Cup. Fantastic. We were buzzing with that. That was a great performance in the second round of the League Cup. Lost to Arsenal away. Beat Hull in the third round quite comfortably, shall we say. We got our first win of the season at home to Wolves, and we lost to Everton in the fourth round. Bill, your thoughts on September?
Well, I mean, I think we all said after that opening home game against Newcastle, we're going to be in for a long season. It was an absolutely dreadful performance, one of the worst, I think, since we moved to London Stadium against a very average side in Newcastle. Very average side. And it's not like we were whipped like we were on the opening day of the previous season, 5-0 by Man City. That's different. It's Manchester City, Pep Guardiola. We were outperformed by Newcastle and Steve Bruce. And we just looked way off the pace in all departments. And I just thought, well, this could be another relegation battle. Well, where do we go from here? And that was a clear sign. We needed more investment, we thought. So, but, even though we lost against Arsenal in the next league game, I thought our performance was a lot better, and that's where we saw the sort of wing-back system in place with Fredericks and Masuaku, and I think we noticed a huge difference. I thought we were very unlucky to not get at least a point, not for the first time in the Emirates. Luck always seems to go Arsenal's way. But to beat Wolves 4-0 was was absolutely fantastic. We were due to play well against Wolves at some point because they'd beaten us every time since they got promoted home and away. So, but being 4-0 was absolutely fantastic. And we did decently in the cups, in the EFL Cup, but the Everton performance and the team we had, especially having Mark Noble and Robert Snodgrass in central midfield, that badly exposed our lack of squad depth, especially in the central midfield. So league was decent, and obviously a couple of good wins against Charlton and Hull, but better than what I thought it'd be, certainly.
And just also one thing I forgot to put down in my notes about it is before Jake and Ollie, before we come on to you about September, when the fixtures came out, what did you think the points we were going to pick up at the end of the season? What do you think the tally? What was your tally thought at the time when the fixtures came out? So, Bill, again to you.
What, for the first few fixtures, do you mean?
No, for the roundup. How many points we would pick up at the end of the season? Do you think we were going to get relegated? Did you think we were going to be safe? Do you think we?
I said. For my channel, the season prediction, I said 14th. And I thought I didn't think we'd get relegated, but we wouldn't be in the fight so much. So 14th, I was thinking.
Okay, and Holly, what was your thoughts on when the fixtures came out?
To be fair, probably somewhere around the same as Bill. I'd hoped that we wouldn't be in a relegation battle, but it wouldn't have surprised me at that point if we were clinging on for dear life.
And Jake?
Yeah, it's difficult because I always look at it as we've got to play these two sides twice, haven't we? But it was nice. I thought, Jesus, we've got Newcastle. We haven't got Man City or someone like that on the first day of the season. But yeah, I was thinking I would have been happy with 13th. I thought that would have been really, really good with the position we were put in and the uproar after everything that happened in the summer transfer window.
I am very, very happy to admit I was the most pessimistic out of the four of us. When the fixtures came out, and I said, and I quote, with the team that it stands at this time, we won't pick up more than 37 or 38 points. Boy, was I wrong. I'm happy to say I was wrong with that. Very, very happy. But I genuinely thought because of the lack of squad depth that we had, and don't get me wrong, the fixtures came out a few days after we sold Dean Garner, so I was still very, very angry, which has got a lot to do with me saying we were going to be in a relegation. I didn't say we were going to be in a relegation battle, but I thought we wouldn't pick up much more than basically what Burnley ended up picking up.
Yeah.
It's anyway. So, but yeah, I'm glad to be proven wrong on that. Okay. So Holly, what were your thoughts with the fixtures in September? The results we got out of that.
Yeah, so similar to what Bill was saying, I think that first game against Newcastle, I thought we were in for a really long season. Given the disappointment in the transfer window and then starting the season like that, I did think this is just sort of proving what everyone's concerns were, and that we had a very long way to go. Again, against Arsenal, I thought we did perform a lot better, but as we all know, if you don't take your chances, you don't pick up those points, and they can definitely come back to haunt you. So while that was a good performance, I was still quite concerned at the start of the season. And then obviously against Wolves, the 4-0 win, I was excited again about football. Typical roller coaster of going from being terrified to overjoyed, but I was concerned we just had a long season ahead of us. It was kind of the amount of points that I'd probably expect us to pick up in the first month. But yeah, I was starting to see some positives that I maybe wasn't expecting to see so early on in the season, given my initial thoughts.
Okay, and Jake, your thoughts on September?
Yeah, well, we thought, I agree with Holly and Bill with, first game, that was awful. Arsenal game was a bit better. Both of the Arsenal games are probably the biggest games of the season for me personally, because two of my best mates are Arsenal fans. But yeah, those two games are my biggest games personally of the season. But yeah, League Cup, I don't really take any much notice of that. We beat Charlton and Hull in that quite convincingly, but I think there would have had to be something really, really wrong if we would have lost those games, but we won them really well. It was a nice surprise. I looked at the end of that game against Wolves, and I said, "Is that really West Ham that just won that? Was that really West Ham? Really?" After the first few games, I thought, wow. what they have for breakfast, or B, what's David Moyes doing? What happened from then onwards, absolutely incredible.
Definitely. September was a roller coaster for me. It really, really was. Like everybody, I was angry with the Newcastle reaction. I thought, this is it. I've jinxed. I thought myself, I've jinxed us. We're going to be rock bottom again. But yeah, once the League Cup game started happening, and then the Arsenal game, Bill, as you were saying, is absolutely right. We hardly ever get a decent result up at the Emirates. You could see, if I remember correctly, it was 1-1 at half time, if I remember right, or 2-1. It was one of the two. I remember obviously Antonio scored before the break, and you could see that what Moyes was trying to put together. And then with Moyes getting COVID, that didn't obviously help things as well, for that matter, from one point of view. But Alan Irvine stepped up, and we very, very comfortably beat Wolves at home. And yes, you can argue that Wolves were pretty terrible that night because they had the Europa League hangover from one point of view. But at the same time, again, we played absolutely superb football. Coming into October now, this is when things were starting to get really quite tasty. We won away at Leicester, which we hadn't done for a while. We drew with Spurs at the bridge. The bridge. What am I talking about? At the White Hart Lane. We drew with City at home, and we lost to Liverpool away. So 5 out of 12 points we picked up, putting us on to 8 points. Holly, your thoughts for October?
I just think it was amazing. So it was one of those kind of months where I guess you can't believe what's happening. As a West Ham fan, I've got to say that we do really well performing against some of the better teams, but teams like City and obviously Spurs picking up points against them, I thought that was where we were going to either make or break our season, just trying to get the 1 point even. So I think the performance-wise, it was all starting to fall into place, and you could kind of see what Moyes had been working on. We were actually starting to build like a team. I think it's something that we have been missing, and I'll admit that I was completely wrong. When we got Moyes back, I was really concerned that it wasn't the right move for the club. But finally, you could sort of see it all gelling. You could see how much more it seemed to mean to the players as well, and how hard they were willing to fight for those points. So it all just started looking really exciting, like it was falling into place.
Absolutely. And Jake?
Yeah. Another roller coaster of a month. Obviously, a fantastic win over Wolves. That Lanzini goal. No more needs to be said. This is why I thought. The Newcastle game and that first month in September was so crucial. We picked up maximum points because we had such hard games in that month. I mean, we had Leicester, Spurs, Liverpool, City in this month, and we coped really, really well with it. Obviously getting a point at home to City was really, really good. Fantastic Antonio goal. I think that was the overhead kick. I think that he did. I was reasonably happy with that. I think we probably could have done better at Liverpool. One of his 5 goals of the season, and 2 of them came on the last day. But yeah, I was reasonably pleased with considering the fixtures and the games we have.
Good. And Bill?
Yeah, a couple what Holly and Jake have said. I think for us to get 5 points that month was way more than a lot of fans, including myself, thought. I thought the Leicester performance was, for me, our performance of the season. For the whole 90 minutes, considering it was away from home, and I was on the back of Leicester thrashing Man City 5-2 at the Etihad Stadium. So for us to win that, and they didn't even have a shot on target apart from, I think, Jamie Vardy scored an offside goal, so there was no shots on target officially. So that was a brilliant performance. And obviously we talk about the Lanzini equaliser at Tottenham, but the comeback in general from 3 goals down at half time. We would have lost that game 4-5-6-0 with stages of Slaven Bilic and Pellegrini. So, and not for the first time, as we'll touch on, that's we got a lot of points coming from behind, and I think it was the first point we got coming from behind that sort of the season just gone. So that was great to see, and Man City. We were due a performance at home because we've been thrashed a lot of times by them since we've moved, and deserved a point, and on another day we would have got a point against Liverpool. So very, very pleased with October's work.
Absolutely, and likewise, for me, when anybody mentions Leicester, the first thing that comes to mind is Creswell's assist for Fornals' goal. What an assist that was! Unreal. There haven't been. I think there's probably 2 other performances this season that have been better than Leicester. That's how good that performance was for me personally. I was quite confident with City at home. We always seem to. I was saying to my uncle at the time, we always seem to do all right against City, either at the start of the season or at the end of the season at home. The amount of draws we've seen against City at home is even when the checkbook came out, is always happened. So I was always quite confident from that side of things. But yeah, 5 points out of the 12, things were happening, and going into November, unreal. Win at home. Win away at Sheffield United. Win at home against Fulham, Sheffield United away, and a win at home against Villa. Bill, your thoughts on those 3 games?
Yeah, well, I mean, we obviously had a tough, on paper, a tough start to the season, but these were the games where, on paper, we were expected to pick up maximum points, but it's easier saying that, you've got to go on the pitch and do it. And yes, we rode our luck a few times, but to get maximum points, it was fantastic. And again, if it was a different season, we would have dropped points and possibly even, lost one of those. But showed it was this new West Ham under David Moyes. So Sheffield United, we hadn't beaten them the previous season, so it was good to beat them. And Aston Villa, we didn't do that great against them previous season as well, 2 draws, so to beat them at home was great. But as I say, rode our luck, but luck was going in our favour for once. Good.
And Jake, to you?
Yeah, I think this is where the scrappy side of West Ham this part of the season started. The 1-0 started to flow, but we got the 3 points over the line with a pretty perfect month. If I'm going to be completely honest with you, so really, really happy in games. Most of them we should have won. A bit of drama in there as well, but very, very, very happy.
And Holly?
Likewise, like I said, I think these are the games that you've got to pick those points up in, and that tends to be our downfall most seasons, that we'll lose the points that are the must-win kind of games. I think as well, we started to see that we were defending well, which I think is something that we'd lacked massively, that we could hold a team to a 1-0 win. Like we were capable of doing that. So I think that's where it all started really looking a lot more promising, because I always feel like I don't want to get too optimistic, because first of all, people slate me on Twitter for it all the time, but also that I don't want to get my hopes up and then we lose the should win kind of games. And that's what we were doing at this point, and it was really exciting to see.
Absolutely. For me, the only criticism I've got of our games in November was the Fulham performance. If Lookman had taken a better penalty, we would have only had 7 of the 9 points. We still would have been unbeaten, but I just think we could have performed better against Fulham. I really, really think we could. It was just there, but the usual West Ham was out that night, playing good, decent football, but we weren't getting enough shots on target, and that was my only criticism. But yes, very, very happy. Now going into December, 6 points from the available 18. So with November, we were sitting on 17 points. We lost at home to Man United. We won away at Leeds. We drew at home at Palace. Lost away at Chelsea. Drew at home in Brighton. No surprises there. And a draw away at Southampton. Holly, your thoughts on December's fixtures?
I had hoped that we'd pick up some more points from that. Brighton are always a bogey team for us. And I was happy to get some points from them, to be honest. But in terms of, losing to United, and like you said, we won against Leeds, which I was happy about. But I had hoped to get more points, and it worried me that our normal kind of form was creeping back in. So it was one of those where I still felt like we were picking up points quite nicely to have a decent season, and probably where I'd anticipated that we would be at that point in the season. We were sort of creeping away from other teams, which made me happy. But kind of neither here nor there. It wasn't sort of I was not ecstatic at any point.
Bill, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, mixed month, mate. I think for me, what encouraged me, not necessarily obviously the results, but in terms of, again, the resolve that we showed. So we come from behind to beat Leeds, come from behind to draw against Palace, and come from behind to draw with Brighton. So, and on another day, we would have beat Man United at home. I felt we should have been at least 2-3-0 up at half time, and a couple of dodgy decisions against United. But, we weren't to know at the time, but I think they went unbeaten the whole season away from home. So, that shows that obviously, it was never going to be easy to beat them. But I felt we gave them more of a game than a lot of sides who played United sort of at home. So, mixed. But I was pleased with the battle hardness we showed and determination in some of the games to gain a point where we easily would have lost.
Absolutely. And Jake, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, December's always known around the festive period for a lot of games in a very short amount of time. And as you said, 18 points available. Yeah, would have liked to have done better. I agree with Holly that some of the old West Ham was creeping back into not beating Brighton, not beating Southampton. I still think if it wouldn't have been for that dodgy, we don't have that camera angle, and we didn't see that ball that went out for their goal, I still think that we would have got something from that game, in my opinion. But one thing I do want to touch on as well is that Southampton game. My man Craig Dawson made his first appearance. I wasn't all for it when I saw that team. I think I'd fear and anger coming out of my eyes and ears. But yeah, what a man, Craig Dawson.
Absolutely, mate. I mean, his debut in the League Cup was brilliant. Really, really was good. But yes, obviously he made his debut proper after that. Man United, yep, we're all of the same mind with that dodgy, stupid decision. I mean, that ball could have ended up in row Z, and they still would have said it was reasonable. But other than that, it was great results away at Leeds. Leeds was the one I was worried the most about, to be honest, because we hadn't played them for 15 odd years in the Premier League. Obviously, we played them when we were down in the Championship 9 years ago, but they had a fantastic start to the season. They were playing some very, very good football as they continued on to do so. And that was my big worry. My old workmate who's a Leeds supporter didn't talk to me for 2 days after that because I genuinely phoned him just to have a conversation, just to talk about the game, and he didn't come back to me for a couple of days because he thought I was just going to gloat. I didn't in any shape or form. It was one of the most entertaining away games I've watched for a long, long time. But yes, very, very happy. And we got into December on 23 points, and being in if I remember correctly, we were fourth or fifth at that time. So January transfer window comes in. Ben Rama obviously makes his deal permanent with a £20.7 million, £1.5 million loan fee for Jesse Lingard, and we also brought in Alves for 1.4 million, spending £23.7 million, and we can't go without dissecting it too much about talking about selling Allaire for £20.25 million and Snodgrass for £99,000 according to Transfer Market, showing a spending of 20.35 players sales, I should say, so £3.35 million in the January transfer window. Holly, your thoughts on the players in and out for January?
I was really happy to get rid of Allaire. I was concerned about getting rid of him when we did because we didn't have a backup. I don't know if I would have kept him just to have a striker in there, because obviously he wasn't performing. I don't think he was obviously the right fit at all, and it wasn't working with what Moyes wanted to do. Snoddy, always had a soft spot for him. Do like him, he's a hard worker, but I don't think he was the player that was ever going to sort of take us to where we needed to be. Did you say players coming in as well?
Yep. So Ben Rama making it permanent, Lingard loan deal, and Alves, which we have no idea what he's doing at the minute. But
yeah, as you said, so I don't know about Alves. Benny, I was really happy to get Ben Rama in on a permanent. I hope that we'd be able to keep him, give him more of a chance, give him some more game time, and see what he was capable of. I was never at that point concerned, I guess, about what he was capable of. So getting him in on a permanent was great. Lingard, I was absolutely buzzing. I obviously couldn't have anticipated how good he was going to be for us. But I had believed that he was a very talented player before he came to us and just hadn't necessarily had the right circumstances at United. So yeah, absolutely buzzing to get Lingard in on loan. And I think things started to look up. But as you said, there wasn't a huge amount financially invested, and striker was what my priority was sort of the whole time. So that was still my worry, that we weren't investing in the right positions that were necessarily most important at that time.
Exactly. Jake, your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, we counted down the months, the days, the hours, the minutes until the transfer window ended to see if we were going to even get a desperate last minute kind of striker in, because we know David Sullivan likes dipping his toe in, but he didn't in the end. But yeah, I've never been so wrong with a player about Jesse Lingard. I've never been so wrong. I was like, no, this is just a last minute. We're not going to buy a striker. Kind of, we'll just try and get him in. I thought attitude was going to be a massive problem, but as I said, I've never been so wrong for a player. Ben Ram, I'd love to see him sign up permanently. Haller gone, yeah, out the door. Just wish we would have bought at least one, even if it was just a cheap player, just someone to come in that actually is a striker. Stoddy, it was sad to see him go. I really do like the man, a fantastic servant to the club, and a fantastic bloke all round, I think. But yeah, perhaps we should have just kept him until the end of the season, just to have that kind of bit more backup there, in my opinion, because he could have just been that wall there for David Moyes, you know. If when we had Declan Rice and Noble out, Lanzini, he turned to Lanzini and it paid off. But just having him there perhaps could have been just like a breather for David Moyes, just to know not have a heart attack that we haven't got a central midfielder at the club to put in there, because he definitely wasn't going to put in Connor Coventry, and we all know that.
And Bill, your thoughts on that, on the January transfer window?
Yeah, again, a bit like the summer one mix. That I felt, I wasn't, I wouldn't have been too upset to sell Haller in the summer, but I felt, selling him in January, I saw no point. Especially as we all know how Golden Sullivan worked. They were never going to bring in another forward, so that was never going to be reinvested. So I would have preferred to keep Haller. I think we could have done with him in certain games towards the end of the season. And obviously having, Antonio was injured a few times sort of towards the end of the season, so I think we could have done with Haller then. But Moyes clearly wasn't a fan of him, so if he was sold in the summer, then I'd have no complaints. But I thought we could have done with him occasionally. If it's Snodgrass, the same. He was never going to be a regular starter, but a bit of squad depth for the bench. But wasn't too upset that he went. And I think with Lingard, I have to disagree slightly with Jake. I think if you speak to Man United fans, he's got a fantastic attitude, and we know the quality of player he has been for United and England, as we saw at the World Cup. But I think the reservation I had was he hadn't played a lot for United this season, apart from a couple of EFL and Europa League games. So fitness was a worry, and he had some problems off the field as well. So would he hit the ground running and make an impact immediately for us? And I question that, like a lot of fans. But obviously, as we saw from his touch on his his debut at Villa, and he just went from strength to strength from there. So no, I was pleased we got him in, because we know the quality of player. But and plus it was a loan. There was no real risk to that. So but yeah, again, mixed bag on the transfer front.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And at the same with me to a degree, I was the quality's just dropped for some random reason, as it does with StreamYard every now and again, which is why I don't like using it. But yeah, for the January transfer window, I think the fan base was quite harsh on Haller for a lot of things. Justifiably, don't get me wrong, justifiably, but harsh. Because before, when Haller left, he'd scored 7 goals. He was one of the reasons why we were up at the top where we were at the time. 7 goals before the end of January isn't bad. It's not a bad return from him at all. It kind of goes under the radar. But the reason why it went under the radar was because he looked so fucking lazy. I'm not going to mix it well. He looked so bloody lazy. He looked like he wasn't bothered. Bearing in mind how well he played the season beforehand, he done like, for example, Southampton at home. That setup he did for Antonio for that goal in that season, very, 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 very good. Very, very good conversation. Very, very good player that we got that we bought in, but at the same time, totally justifiable. I think the understanding was that Lingard was going to be a semi-replacement for Allaire at that point. But I mean, obviously that worked out from one point of view. But at the same point, spitting feathers, not bringing in a striker, a proper striker. Yeah. January, 12 points out of the available 15. A win away at Everton, a win in the Stockport in the third round of the FA Cup, win at home against Burnley, which is never an easy thing to do, especially for us. We beat West Brom at home. We beat West Brom as well. Through to the FA Cup fifth round against Doncaster, won that, won away at Palace, and we lost at home to Liverpool. Jake, your thoughts on January?
Yeah, that Everton game where we just got over the line without Souček goal at the end. This is where I thought we're going to do all right here. We are in with a shout. I think this was the first time we got up into fourth position, and I thought I can get used to this. This is all right. I felt that was the turning point where it was. I mean, it was still a dream until the last game of the season, but perhaps just for me a little bit more of a reality, a little bit more of actually we could possibly do this. But yeah, we got through 2 rounds in the FA Cup. It's just that Liverpool game that really annoyed me. Liverpool were there to get at, and we didn't. David Moyes chickened out again, which he didn't do often. And I'm not going to really sit here and bash Moyes for that, because look at where he's got him. But if only he would have just been a bit more adventurous in the games against Liverpool United, that Brighton game. I feel we could have perhaps tried to sneak in the back door of Champions League, but that was disappointing. But yeah, this is the month where the dream started to become a little bit more of a reality for me.
Absolutely. And Bill, before you go and sort your Europa League final watch along, mate, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, when's the last time, mate, that West Ham won 6 competitive games in all competitions in a row? Very good. 2 wins in the Cup, 4 in a row in the league. Kept a number of clean sheets. Beating Everton, a side that were sort of at that stage were competing with us for European spots, was great. It's never easy. I know there's no fans, but never easy to win away at Goodison Park. Winning at Burnley's never easy. We've done well there, and it's coming from behind again against Crystal Palace away. So yeah, as Jake said, slight blip was the Liverpool game, but overall January was a really positive month.
Cool.
And now I've got to go. So thanks very much.
You're welcome, care, man. Thanks for popping on.
Cheers, mate. See you later.
And there we go again. Quality's going crap again as usual. All right, so and then Holly, your thoughts on that January week?
Bill touched on obviously coming back from behind against Palace, and I think that was one of the things that I'd noticed, that games that we previously would have lost and heads would have dropped, it just wasn't happening anymore. We won at Everton, like you said, they're difficult games, same with Burnley. And similar to what Jake was saying, with Moyes obviously choosing to play a bit defensively against Liverpool, it almost seemed like a massive shift in mindset, because we were disappointed that we hadn't taken Liverpool when they were there for the taking. And I think previously we'd have probably been buzzing with 1 point, but we as fans wanted the 3 points. We wanted to go out there and we wanted to beat them. So obviously how Moyes set up, and then for the result, it was disappointing. But I think that probably said a lot more about the expectations that we had by this point, because the team were performing so well. And yeah, Bill said winning 6 games in a row, getting 12 points out of 15. That does not typically happen at West Ham, and things were going really well by that point. And you felt like anything was kind of possible. We were kind of winning the games that we should. We were competing with teams that were arguably top 6 kind of sides, and yeah, things were going really well by this point.
Absolutely. For me, as far as I'm concerned, losing to Liverpool is and winning everything else is max points. It's absolutely max points for me. We're never going to compete properly with Liverpool season after season. We have the glitches every now and again, where we are able to do it. Like for example, the last season at the Bowling. The first time we'd won there for 53, 54 years. It's a bonus. I know it's a big cliche in football, but it is a bonus game. It's extra points if you pick up anything against Liverpool. It genuinely is. But two really good performances in the FA Cup. Very, very happy with everything else that was going along in January. When we were on 35 points in January, I couldn't believe it, how things were going on. And then getting into February, and obviously Lingard making his debut, and we won at Villa, drew away at Fulham, lost at home to Man U in the FA Cup. We won at home against Sheffield United and Spurs, and lost away to City. Jake, your thoughts on February?
Yeah, some really good performances in there. A couple of not so good ones, but yeah, that is my game of the season. That first game of February, Aston Villa won West Ham 3-4. That was my favourite kind of game of the season in my eyes. Just the tactical masterclass from Moyes, just to stick Fredericks on there to double up on Grealish. The whole Antonio Benrahma, Fornals, Lingard link-up play, amazing, and we were solid at the back. That was the highlight of my season. That was for sure. But yeah, we pushed on some more. We were still in and around that fourth position. Most people were still writing us off for Europe, but we just kept on going.
Absolutely. And Holly, your thoughts on February?
I think that's it, isn't it? That everyone was still writing us off, including our own fans. I think at any point we're sort of expecting our luck to wear off. Was it the Fulham game where Souček was sent off as well?
Yeah.
Games like that were obviously really disappointing. Mike Dean fails to disappoint. So it was just going so well, and I think Moyes was really sort of coming into his own, and you could see how the team had just transformed over the whole season by this point. The performance against Villa was brilliant as well. But yeah, I just think it was looking so much more positive. And although there was a fair bit amount of negativity on social media actually throughout that kind of time, but I think the results were just sort of overruling it. And at the same time, obviously, we're always saying about that 40-point mark for safety, and we're just keeping an eye on that and just creeping over that, which was very nice.
It was very, very funny watching.
Typical West Ham, isn't it, though?
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it was very, very funny watching West Ham clips counting down to the safety mark with every single highlight video.
Yeah.
It was cracking me up. Really was funny. But yes, absolutely, it was. Obviously we secured it. We got to 45 points by the end of February. Lost away to City. A little bit in City's favour, I think, to be honest with you, because again, a very, very good performance. We looked a little bit knackered in the second half, but because it was City. Let's be fair, it was because it was City. But my only criticism again is Fulham taking Mike Dean's red card out of the situation. We just couldn't do it. There was just something missing again. Fulham are a team very, very close to my heart, as I've mentioned many times on the channel before. But Fulham are also a team I like watching us beat. I really do. And it was just, okay, we got 4 points out of them this season, but it really should have been 6. It really should have been 6. We had so many good chances. And don't get me wrong, Areola, as Jake knows how much of a fan I am of Areola with the team of the season video we'll be putting up in a few days' time. He's a very, very good shot stopper. Easy for me to say. He's a very, very, very good shot stopper, and he's very, very talented. And he's a player I would love for us to try and bring in. I don't think we will because of who his parent club are, but I really genuinely think he's a very, very good player, and was one of the reasons why we couldn't get anything more than a point. He made some very, very good saves in that game. Fulham defended very, very well, and I mean even Villa were defending very well at points, and they were on top of us for quite a fair chunk of that, especially that first half, and some of the parts of the second half as well. But as everybody, as the football cliches is, the best stat is what the scoreline is, and we were relatively unbeaten in that season. As again, maximum points out of everybody bar City. So it was unbelievable. Turning to March, 4 points out of 9 we won. We won at home at Leeds, lost away at Man United, and draw at home to Arsenal. Holly, your thoughts on March?
I think again we were just I'd got to the point where I was sort of just tallying up the points by this point, hoping that we could just pick up as many as possible. Winning against Leeds was another one that I was always just happy to see that the games that you'd hope that you'd be able to compete against teams quite easily. United and Arsenal, they're always going to be a challenge. So to pick up a point against Arsenal was good, but I had hoped that we would probably perform a little bit better, especially as they've been looking a bit shaky, I think, around that time, if I remember correctly. So yep. I'd hoped it would be one that would be there for the taking. But if someone had offered me 4 points out of 9 in March, I would have taken that any day at the start of the season. So no real complaints from me.
Cool. Jake, your thoughts?
Yeah, it was good. It was another good month. We were still in and around there, and just again, people were still writing us off. But that game that really did annoy me is that Arsenal game. If we would have just held on, to that 2 points, I won't say we would have got Champions League because we wouldn't have got in there on goal difference. But that 2 points could have been so crucial if towards that. If we would have just held on, immense first half. Jesse Lingard was doing what Jesse Lingard does, or does best. As I quickly found out, and I was quickly proven wrong by that man. But yeah, we were still in and around there. I was still happy. I think every West Ham fan was still happy. Bit disappointed going into the international break, I think, with that 3-3 draw, because I think fans were just thinking, this is typical West Ham. Our wheel's going to fall off now. But we ended up holding it together just about in the end.
Absolutely. The interesting thing is, for me, in the last game of the season, the last game of the bowling season, we drew 3-3 at home to Arsenal in April. Drawing 3-3 at home at March was maybe a catalyst for us to push on and get some more points. I generally think it was, because again, as it was with the away fixture, we played very, very well. Just couldn't get everything right. Lost away at Man United hurt. It really hurt, because again, I thought we played really, really well. But 49 points at the end of March. Very, very happy with that. Turning into April, this is more West Ham. 6 points out of 12. One away at Wolves, one at home at over Leicester, lost away at Newcastle, as we did in the season beforehand, and lost at home to Chelsea. Jake, your thoughts on April?
Fantastic first couple of games, scored 3 goals yet again. The wheels fell off in the second half of both of those games, but we managed to hold on. I mean, how do you sum up that Newcastle game? How do you sum up that Newcastle game, for goodness sake? Individual errors cost us, from Dawson and Fabianski. We made a late comeback, but that man who just keeps on scoring, Joe Willock, I don't want to see him ever again, put that header in and scores. It's just these games, because we were so in awe of, perhaps getting Champions League football, and it's these games we could have easily done it. But yeah, a bit disappointed there. I think obviously our fan base is quite reactionary, and there was a lot of angry people after this game, and people were writing us off for Europe completely after this game. But yeah, we had some good moments and some bad moments in April.
Okay, and Holly, your thoughts?
Similar to what Jake was saying, I think I spend quite a lot of time on Twitter, so I obviously noticed the reactionary side of things, and it did feel like everyone was writing us off, because these were our opportunities to pick up the points. They should have been kind of pretty straightforward, and we weren't necessarily managing it. Like you said, I think we were just managing to outscore the opponent, and we started to see the beginning of that kind of goal drought that kicked in. I say goal drought, we were still scoring as much as you'd hope another team to, but when you're relying on probably outscoring rather than keeping clean sheets again, we started to see the bad effects of that. The Newcastle game, it was infuriating. It was a shame that we didn't manage to get points from that, because if you're scoring, was it two goals we scored against them? If you're scoring 2, you'd like to think that you could probably be able to win a game. So yeah, it was just more frustrating than anything, I think, and the goals just weren't coming how they previously had been as quickly.
Absolutely agree with you. No issues with Wolves or Leicester whatsoever. Newcastle, in two minds, to be honest with you. I'm really in two minds about that performance, because yes, again, we were terrible and we should have done better, but it's St James's Park. It's Newcastle. We've always had difficulty at that ground all the time. And if we'd have played better, then like, for example, if Dawson hadn't been sent off for those 2 stupid challenges that he made, it was desperation. There's no other, and we'll come on to probably one of the reasons why he did this in a little while, because we're almost going to be wrapping this up soon. But like a lot of the so-called West Ham fans on Twitter, unlike them, I should say, I don't think Balbuena sending off at home to Chelsea made any difference. I don't think that we would have got anything out of that game whatsoever. 10 men, 11 men, 15 men on the pitch. We could, as the old cliche goes, we could have played for another 2 hours and still not scored. It was just one of those games. People were saying, okay, it's possibly laggy legs and all that sort of stuff, but Chelsea were just better. They were just better than us. And as much as we hate to say it, they were better than us for that. Okay, and coming to the last month of the season, 10 points out of 15. Unbelievable. Win away at Burnley, lost at home to Everton, drew away at Brighton, won away at West Brom. The penultimate game of the season where for the first time there were fans back since February last year, and then obviously the win at home against Southampton. Jake, your thoughts on that?
We just about did it, innings. We just about held on. We tried to deny us of European football, but we got there in the end with a very good performance on the last day of the season. I've said on my build-up show that I said I want a nice, calm, collective, no issues, no nerves performance to get into Europa League, and people laughed at me, and that's what we got. And yeah, just fantastic way to end the season. That West Brom game, I thought, once we went 1-0 down, Declan Rice missed that penalty, I thought, this is going to be one of those nights, and we are going to deny ourselves of European football. But we managed to do it. We managed to come back. Ben Rama, get in. I love the man. Got his first goal. We had to wait for it, let's be completely honest, but what a goal it was in the end. But yeah, just about managed to hold on in the end, and I think we're all buzzing today. I mean, it's the Europa League final tonight. We will be in it next year in Seville. Whoever we get when the draw comes out, I think it is in August. But yeah, we are massive, and we're all going on a European tour if we're allowed.
Absolutely. Ollie, your thoughts on? You're probably going to echo exactly what you just said, but
yeah, pretty much. First of all, can I just say that last game of the season, the nerves I had building up to it, and then how calm the performance was. Obviously, the penalty scared me. However, for our last performance to just be so calm, collected, nice 3-0 win, it helped so much. But I'd been so worried in the lead up to it. It was all in our hands, wasn't it? And the amount of times I'd seen us on social media written off and then written back in, because we were just sort of we didn't want ourselves to have to rely on other teams. And it always seems that you're looking around yourself, looking at the other teams, how many points they're picking up, and quite a few results actually ended up going our way. So when we had Brighton, obviously drew to them, that was another one where you were wondering whether you were throwing away the opportunity in games that we always do struggle against Brighton, but you were thinking, like, have we lost the opportunity here? And then, yeah, end of the season, we just managed to pull it off. I think having Rice and Ogbonna back helped massively. When Rice was injured, it was so noticeable. And yeah, we managed to obviously see a couple of good games from Fornals as well. Last game of the season, 2 goals and an assist from him when everyone had been criticising him for obviously not really taking his chances. He did it at the best time to put our nerves at ease. So yeah, brilliant end to the season. Very stressful as always. Wouldn't have it any other way. We don't like to make it easy for ourselves, do we? But couldn't be any happier with the outcome of this season, especially when at the beginning of the season, I would never ever have expected, with the situation we put ourselves in with injuries to Antonio, if you'd given me the list of players that were going to get injured over the season, I'd be saying sort of I don't know how we can recover from that. So yeah, great outcome.
Going into the start of May, because Jake will be able to back me up on this, I said that Champions League's a step too far, but I think Europa League's more achievable. Because we talked about it. We talked about it on there with Luke at the Three Hammers, and I was proven right. It was, but what an end to the season! Regardless of us getting the 65 points, which is our highest ever Premier League tally, which we'll come on to in a minute, I was more happy to see fans back. Not just for everybody, the alleged 10,000 exactly at the London Stadium, which I never believe are their home stats. I haven't ever since we moved there. They've never been right. But more specifically, to see the fans back when we were playing against West Brom, and the reason why, I know it might sound like a bit of a random thing to say, but the reason why is because we got 6 points out of those two fixtures. It shuts everybody up in the media saying the only reason why West Ham are doing so well this season is because the fans weren't there.
Yes.
They were playing against opposition fans, and they were playing at home with our fans. Don't get me wrong, 2 games don't make a season, but it shuts everybody up. You know, and obviously there was a mini protest that Hammers United organised before the Southampton game. Fair play to them, but again, as it was with the other 2 ones that Hammers United had organised, didn't make an iota of a difference. There was we've all seen people that were literally there for that game and saying at points it was like the stadium was full with how loud we were at certain points. Absolutely buzzing. One thing I was when we did the watch along for the game. One thing I was worried about, because I didn't want to have a repeat of what happened at Stoke at the end of the 15-16 season. We were 2-0 up, fans singing "We're going on a European tour," and we ended up losing it 3-2. Watching the behind the scenes video, because obviously I couldn't hear it live for copyright reasons. There were fans singing we were going on a European tour, and I was literally watching it yesterday morning like this. Please, no.
Yeah.
Have you not learned from 5 years ago? Have you not learned 6 years ago? Have you not learned? You know, and it's just. But obviously, fortunately, you know, Fornals with the brace, very good goal from, and I agree with Gio. He said that Rice's goal was a striker's goal. Absolutely agree with him 100%. Beautiful end to the season. 65 points. Comfortably above Spurs. What more can you want? The highest amount of points we've ever scored. We've ever been able to get. We beat Wolves twice, Leicester twice, Leeds twice, Burnley twice, Villa twice, Sheffield United twice. Granted, they got relegated, but still, it's absolutely incredible. There's no other way of saying it. It was an incredible performance. We won half of our bloody fixtures.
Mad, absolutely mad.
We drew 8 games and lost 11, plus 15 goal difference. Now I was doing a bit of research earlier today in terms of the performances of the home and away. You know, 10 wins at home, four draws and 5 losses, 34 points picked up at home at the London Stadium. That's the fabled fortress of the Bowling. And likewise with the away points. You know, we picked up 31 points, won 9 games, drew 4 and lost 6 away. That's an incredible result, unbelievably incredible result. Compare it now from looking at the conversation that the 4 of us have had. You could argue that what we're saying is there's a bit of privilege slipping in here in terms of how we're, especially from my point of view, where I've been very, very critical of a few performances, very quite privileged attitude. But let's not forget, end of last season, we were 16th. We finished 5 points to get above the relegation zone. we'd won 10 games, drawn 9 games, and lost 19 with a minus goal difference of 13. This season we ended plus 15. It was in the home results. We'd only won 6 at home last season, drawn 4 and lost 9. 22 points picked up at home. Still not a bad return. It's the away form that really screwed us last season. Won 4, drew 5, and lost 10. 17 points we picked up last season away. Now, the only other time we've ever done better than that was when we finished 5th in the 98-99 season. But we only picked up 57 points that season. It's incredible how much the seasons have changed in the last 22 years. It's how quickly the game's evolved, how more difficult the Premier League is. There's obviously between that, we've been relegated twice over that period of time. So we know how difficult the Premier League is. Having said that, Arsenal at home, to a lesser extent, Newcastle away, and definitely Fulham at home. If we'd have picked up more points, we would have finished Champions League quite comfortably. We would have picked up. We were only 2 points from the top 4. If we'd have picked up all 3 against Arsenal, all 3 against Fulham, and picked up a point against Newcastle, that's us in the Champions League.
Easy.
Now,
Yep.
Nice.
say again.
Oh,
sorry, Ali.
I was saying it was so close. It's absolutely amazing that when you actually think about how easy those fixtures, I suppose, potentially could have been, how close we were to Champions League. But it just goes to show how competitive the Premier League is. Absolutely. And if someone had offered me top 10 at the start of the season, I'd have bitten their hand off. So yeah, it's amazing to see what we have achieved. Absolutely.
And Jake, your thoughts on that in wrapping up?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just a fantastic season, and I'm just so happy for us fans as well, because obviously you two are older than me, and you've seen West Ham for longer than I have, and it's just amazing. It has been a dream this season for many of us, and it's been a roller coaster, because West Ham have not made it easy, that's for sure. I just hope, obviously, we will worry about that next season, but I just hope Europa League, we need to get players, and I just hope Europa League doesn't overdo us, and we still pick up some decent form in the Premier League as well, which is what happens to some teams. But we'll worry about that next season. We're going on a European tour, and I couldn't be more happier. I watched that behind the scenes video yesterday as well, and just seeing them all go around to the fans, clap the fans. It's just such a shame. It's typical as well that we haven't been inside there to watch our best season for a long time. But yeah, absolutely buzzing still to this day.
Definitely, and it was lovely to see Noble saying to everybody, just get your passport ready. That was one of the first things he said. Is that now one thing we haven't touched on? We've gone about the results. One thing we haven't talked about is we haven't talked about Moyes' approach to the game. I mean, obviously we touched on the fact that I was talking about when Alan Irvine was in charge for the Wolves games, he got COVID, but for you first, Jake, double question really. In your opinion, what has gone right for Moyes and the backroom staff, and what has gone wrong for Moyes and the backroom staff this season?
Oh, well, I think what's gone wrong is probably the obvious thing is he just needs, perhaps if we were just gone for a few more games, that Brighton game, a couple more games, if he wouldn't have started Noble in there when he didn't need to, perhaps start Ben Rama in some of the games that we bottom half in the bottom half of the table close. Perhaps we don't need to play Bowen or whoever. Just go with that a bit more attacking mentality for me. But I mean, the backroom stuff, you can see Kevin Nolan has a massive impact. These coaches in that, Alan Irvine, they've got a massive impact on corners and set pieces, and just fitness, as David Moyes likes. And it's just the backroom staff of what's wonders this season, and they've been absolutely fantastic. But I got to shoot, John. Thanks very much for having me on.
Cheers, mate. We're pretty much running up now anyway, so thanks very much for coming on, Jake.
Yeah.
Bye, Jake.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks. Bye, Holly.
Bye.
So, at some point,
Doesn't want to leave. Having too much fun.
There we go. Yeah, he's got a bit of a delay, bless him. But yeah, okay. So same question to you, Holly. What's gone right and what's gone wrong for Moyes and the backroom staff this season?
So what's gone right? I think so much has gone right, especially considering Moyes wasn't obviously given all the investment and the tools that he would have hoped for, I'm sure. I think one of the things that I have noticed as well is that he hasn't invested in players that maybe are a waste of time. I was definitely guilty at the start of the season of when we got Allaire just wanting someone sort of cheap just for the sake of getting a striker in. But I think Moyes and his team have been really careful about who they've brought in, what it's going to do to the team dynamic, how they're actually going to fit in and the role that they're going to play in the team. And I think that probably is why we are where we are, because each player seems to have a role now and know what that role is. I think he's transformed the mentality, the fitness. We're scoring from set pieces. Players like Cresswell that were struggling and their form had completely disappeared, he's brought them back to performing so well. So I think he's got a knack of probably understanding what players need to perform and how to get them performing to their best. I guess you could argue there are players like Ben Rama that clearly do have the talent, but it's not been unlocked. But on the whole, I'd say Moyes and his team, they've managed to bring the best out of a lot of players. And in terms of, I guess, what we've done wrong, investments obviously been the big one where the money and the finances just hasn't been invested. But have we had the right players available to spend it on? I don't know. Obviously, as a fan, you always want the board to invest and just things to be tried. Like, even if there's not necessarily the perfect player out there, I know I've seen sort of the side of the club where it is difficult to get a player in. There are so many moving parts and there's so much competition as well, which I'm hoping the main thing is that with Europa League, we should be able to attract in these big players and keep the likes of Rice as well. But I think, obviously investment has been a massive thing that we've done wrong, arguably, in the last however many years. Moyes himself, defensive. I think we didn't take it to some of the teams that we could have been. Like we said, there was the performance against Liverpool. There were a lot of teams that we probably showed a bit too much respect to, and probably went out there hoping for the draw. And we're not good enough to defend for 90 minutes. Very few teams are against the top 6 clubs. So we were proven that wasn't the right way to play. And on top of that as well, Moyes obviously got criticised a fair bit for being quite slow to make substitutions. I'm no manager myself, so I can't really criticise too much. However, there definitely were times where I was screaming for us to bring on a sub and change something when, from my point of view, it just wasn't working. But on the whole, Moyes has done a fantastic job. His whole team have. They've brought us to where we are today with very little resources. We've had, like you said, best Premier League points ever, best season since '99. And I think, it's just been absolutely unbelievable. And I think all of it really is down to Moyes, to the back room, to the players and how they've approached this season and turned things around.
Absolutely. Echo pretty much everything you're saying there, Holly. It was great. It was great to see the camaraderie back at West Ham.
Yes, definitely.
Literally everybody working for each other, and it's partly down to the fact that you've got Stuart Pearce, who's going to scream at you at training if you're not going to be doing what he wants you to do. You've got as there was a really good video of Nolan and Bowen. Nolan and Noble, I should say, the two captains talking to each other, and you could see that they're still really good mates. That Nolan said himself in that video that he still thinks as himself as a player, but he's got to be at touching distance now. It's little things like that that's really galvanised the squad, and bringing in the right players for the right positions as well has massively helped. Soufal is probably the best right back we've had for 15, close to 20 years, I should imagine. I think probably the closest right back we would ever have in terms of an actual right back playing at right back, possibly Guy Demel. That's how long it's been. I mean, I was a big fan of him when we got relegated. I thought he was a good player, but he wasn't brilliant in any shape or form. I'm struggling to think of right backs prior to him that are on the same sort of level as Soufal. That's how long it's been. My criticism of Moyes, however, is exactly as you're saying. The sub and as Jake said as well, selection issues here and there. Also down to the fact that making substitutions at the wrong time, leaving it too late. Now, I don't want to criticise Moyes too much for that, because when we just before Pellegrini was sacked, I said to Nicky at West Ham Fan TV, we did it on a fan cam. I said it can't be managerial. It can't be managerial, because we had the same thing under Pellegrini, we had the same thing under Bilic, we had the same thing under Fat Sam as well, for that matter, right? Yeah. Substitutions coming on at really, really weird times. Yeah. And we've got a couple of trolls in the chat. I'm not going to put their comments up, but it's just ridiculous what they're putting in there at the minute. But thank you very much for commenting, both of you. Very, very nice. One person very confused with what this is. I mean, apart from the fact it's written here. The other person just trying to be controversial for the sake of it. But thank you very much to two of you for putting those comments in. But as I said, I don't want to be criticising Moyes too much because of that. Literally, because it seems systemic in terms of contracts, appearances, and all that sort of stuff. However, it's the selection issue on a few teams, a handful of team sheets over the 44 games in total, including the cup games that we've played this season.
Yeah,
Moyes will look at himself. Because even though he's nowhere near as arrogant as he was as a manager when he was up at Man United, and when he was out at Real Sociedad, and to a degree when he was a manager at Sunderland as well, Gonzo is completely right. Moyes is back to the stock that he is at Everton now, 100%. Completely agree with him on that. And as a result, I think Moyes will look back and think, right, okay, maybe I could have done that better. Maybe we could have done this better.
Definitely.
I've always said, and I was speaking to a mate of mine, AJ, earlier about this as well. A manager is only 15% responsible for the fixtures and the results. So yeah, the results. He's responsible for the team he puts out, and he's responsible for the tactics that they go through training. The rest of the 85% is down to the players. Yeah. And because of that. And as we touched on earlier about having the everybody working together, that's the real reason. The players themselves are the real reason why we've got where we are. And long may that can continue. Actually, Bert's saying he's not trolling, so I will put both of his comments up. That was a good time to sack Moyes and bring in Lampard. Hopefully, this next comment is actually. Expanding on that, Moyes has taken us as far as he can take us. Frank is loved by the fans and is more of a long-term plan. No, he's not. Wrong on both counts there, mate, I'm afraid, but that's your opinion, and I respect that. But as I say, that's been the review. It's gone a little bit longer than I was originally planning, because it should have only really taken about 45 minutes, but it's taken almost
good things to talk about.
Exactly, yeah. The more you get people's points of view from, the more things we can expand on. We'll save the finances for another time, because that's another conversation in itself. But just to sum up, as you were saying there, Holly, what was it? Let's go back on the notes now. So we spent 4.1 in the summer transfer window, net spend, and 3.35 net spend in the January transfer window. It's not good enough. It's not good enough in any shape or form. It's £4.5 million. In a season where from money available that we got of, like, was it 285 million? I think it was. If I remember correctly, the accounts that I went through quite heavily, saying over a quarter of a billion pounds worth of admin charges. What? How can you justify that? How can you generally justify £245 million on admin charges? It's just like, what are you spending it on? and this is the thing. This is why I asked Hamish United every single year, look at the accounts, find out why this is what's going on.
Yeah.
And as Nicky said, we seem to be the only side that are out of COVID that are pleading poverty, with the exception of Spurs, because obviously they did a big loan a few months ago from the Royal Bank of London, which is none of our business. But there's 20 teams in the Premier League, and only 2 are saying that they had money problems.
Yeah, I think especially with Europa League as well, now is the time that we have to invest, because if we don't, it's going to fall apart and very quickly as well. We need more squad depth than we've ever needed now, and I think if we don't invest, there's no excuse for it, because we've got Anderson, we've got Yarmolenko, we've got players that can leave that we could save a lot of money on wages on. But on top of that, I think, like you said, we've had 2 transfer windows where we've spent so little that now is the time that we need to really push the boat out and invest heavily into the future, and what we would have spent potentially over those 2 transfer windows, and getting all the positions that we're struggling. We need that striker. We need a goalkeeper. We've got multiple positions now where, especially when Rice got injured, you notice just how thin our squad depth actually is. Yeah. And if we don't invest with Europa League, it's going to destroy what could be a really great future, because it's heading the right way, but it won't keep heading the same way. We got a lot of luck, I think, in terms of us managing to sort of sneak our way through the season despite injuries. So, that investment has to come.
Thank you guys for watching. Bert Raccoon and Manjot FN, thank you very, very much for watching this. If you've enjoyed this, either watching it live or watching, I'm sure it's going to be available on a replay because it's Twitch, then by all means, please do follow the channel here, because we're going to be doing a lot more of this content. Hopefully, before the Premier League season starts at the beginning of August, we'll have a preview where again we have the same sort of thing. We'll have everybody, as many people as we can. Oh, bless him! Thank you very much, mate. Much appreciated. Very nice of you, Bert. Thank you very much. This has been the first ever video live, and so we're going to be doing more of this. Hopefully we'll have a preview for the season. We'll also be doing a have your say style content on here as well after the games, where people can log in and we can have chats with about that live as well. So, but if you aren't aware of the channel on YouTube, then by all means go chase it as well. It's the same. It's exactly the same as what's up here, JPWHU TV. But in the meantime, guys, and of course, thank you very, very much to Jake and to Bill that had to leave for obvious reasons. We've gone practically double the length it should have done. But thank you very much, Holly, for coming on. It's been nice to actually have you on and have a conversation with you properly.
Yeah, no, it's been lovely. Thanks for having me on. I'll definitely come back if you'll have me on again.
Absolutely. The more the merrier. With StreamYard, you can do that. And apologies, guys, for those that are watching this, because there's about 2 or 3 times where the quality's gone down because it's BT internet. It's shit here. Even though the computer's plugged into the router, I'm not using Wi-Fi at all. It's still terrible at certain points. 8 o'clock, it always goes down properly, and it did exactly on the minute while you were talking as well, Holly. So, but yeah, don't take it personal. It's just BT. But in the meantime, guys, thank you very, very much for your time. As I say, we will see you very soon. All the best now. Look after yourselves and take care.
Cheers,